You've probably heard by now about Cracker Barrel changing their logo from old American nostalgia to cold, dead, lifeless, and modern. In a comedic way, as one friend said to me, they removed the cracker and the barrel, so what's left now? And the answer's nothingness. The same nothingness that the left wants you to stomach in every other facet of your life. And if you think this is just a logo change, you're wrong.
Robbie Starbuck.
Robbie Starbuck.
Robbie Starbuck.
Robbie Starbuck.
Robbie Starbuck.
Robbie, I'm a big fan of what you do and your wife.
Corporate America listens to this guy. I'm a little scared of him, too.
This is the Robbie Starbuck Show. We investigated Cracker Barrel, and what I'm about to show you is a company infested with left-wing activists who are more interested in safe spaces, pronouns, and virtue signaling than they are in their customers. I think the best way to start is by telling you what you've been funding if you've gone to Cracker Barrel in recent years. So let's start with Nashville Pride. Yes, Cracker Barrel is a proud sponsor of Nashville Pride and have been part of it for over a decade, along with participating for multiple years in Evansville, Indiana's Third River City Pride event. They even made LGBTQ+ rocking chairs for these Pride events, the same Pride rocking chair that they put front and center in their Tennessee corporate office and at their 2019 Managers Conference for the Cracker Barrel managers. That Tennessee corporate office I mentioned is located in a place called Wilson County, one of the most conservative counties that you will find in America. The fact that it's located there is important to this story because what's happened here is a microcosm of the parasitic operating procedure of left-wing activists. Like a parasite, they embed and spread. They don't just want to force their soulless, godless, hedonistic vision of the future onto blue hellscapes that their party controls. No, it's much more important to them that they shove it down into your towns, into your kids' schools, and into your way of life. So sticking a pro-trans rocking chair into their headquarters in a predominantly conservative town is exactly the type of thing they revel in doing. And for a food service company, you might be thinking their focus should be good food and good service, but their own website says, quote, "This year, Cracker Barrel's focus was to be a part of the Pride experience." And they're very proud of their pro-trans rocking chairs, let me tell you. They call it, quote, "bringing the front porch to Pride." And if you think that's out of alignment with their customers, well, you're right, but it doesn't end there. The Cracker Barrel website says that they believe that diversity and pride are pillars that should guide decision-making year-round. In fact, to uphold these values, Cracker Barrel also engaged with the HRC and the Out and Equal Advocates Workplace Conference. More on the HRC later, but let's dive into Out and Equal. For those who don't know, Out and Equal is an organization focused on forcing sexuality and transgenderism into the workplace. Cracker Barrel sponsored their conference and really went the extra mile by creating rocking chairs in every color of the LGBTQ+ pride flag. This was part of a large DEI push at Cracker Barrel corporate in recent years. Cracker Barrel was so devoted to this DEI push before most even knew DEI was a thing that they were given an award by the Out and Equal Advocates for having 2018's top LGBT ERG group. Yes, Cracker Barrel has a special group for LGBTQ+ employees. Again, back in my day, a club about the sex you like to have at work would have been called sexual harassment, but now it's apparently empowering and virtuous if you make a club about it. That's not the only award they've won, though. No, they also won Nashville LGBT Chamber of Commerce's award for corporate diversity. To really drive home how out of touch the company's become, here's a photo of a former Cracker Barrel employee's cubicle where you can see his pronouns listed on his Out and Equal name tag, along with what appears to be a Gay Pride FBI logo and various virtue signaling signs. Cracker Barrel also took part in something called the Southern States Forum, where they discuss how to advance the far-left agenda and normalize transgenderism and their causes in southern states. At this forum, they did a workshop on the Cracker Barrel, quote, timeline of progress. This is about advancing LGBTQ+ issues. So are you getting Cracker Barrel vibes yet? I doubt it, but buckle in, because the crazy train is just leaving the station. Now back to the HRC. If you're not familiar with the HRC and you thought of Hillary Clinton, somehow the actual HRC is worse than Hillary. In fact, in the most Orwellian twist, their full name is the Human Rights Foundation. With such a name, you might expect them to speak up for trafficking victims, free speech, religious freedom, or maybe young girls who suffer from genital mutilation in third world countries. But again, you'd be wrong. They actually support the mutilation that left-wing activists call, quote, gender-affirming care for children. And yes, they support the hormones, the surgeries, all of it. The HRC also absolutely hates President Trump. And their president called President Trump a white nationalist who hates America during this last election.
We can have a 34-time felony convicted wannabe white nationalist dictator in office.
The HRC, they want workplaces pushing pronouns, transgenderism, full medical coverage for transitions, and to fund pride events both inside the workplace and outside the workplace. In fact, in this image posted by a former Cracker Barrel employee, you'll see that they've sponsored the HRC's, quote, equality dinner for at least 10 years. They even got a shout out on stage from the HRC for their dramatic embrace of wokeness.
In all of the ways, Cracker Barrel, I see you! I am so thankful that you are here because I have been wanting that hash brown casserole for a long time, and now I feel like I can go back and do it. I see you. I am just thrilled.
Now remember that cubicle before? It belonged to a former employee who was actually a part of the HRC's Business Advisory Council in Washington, D.C. A very proud moment for Cracker Barrel executives, I'm sure. In fact, his LinkedIn says he's still on the council today. That employee, Steve Smotherman, was also the head of management training and development at Cracker Barrel for 15 years. That explains a lot. So this ideology has been permeating the company since as early as 2005. He left in 2020 to form a corporate consulting company and later to work for Out and Equal, no doubt to advance his cause in more workplaces. And if you think maybe the ideology left with him, you'd be wrong. Meet Rachel Campbell. She acts as the manager of training and development at Cracker Barrel. She's also similarly very excited about their LGBT rocking chairs. And it's important to note all of this because these types of employees play a critical role in turning companies away from the values of their customers and moving the companies toward wokeness. That guy I mentioned, he is the archetype activist employee that fueled the rise of DEI in corporate America. When he was at the company, the HRC and Cracker Barrel were so tight that Cracker Barrel even brought in an HRC representative named Beck Bailey to do a training on transgenderism and pronouns. I'm sure this was extremely helpful with the rush of customers they have that want to be called by they, them, or zim, zer pronouns, because that's apparently the clientele they're after today. Now, you might also be interested to know that for a good while, Cracker Barrel participated in the HRC's woke social credit scoring system called CEI scoring. This scoring system measures what lengths you are willing to go to bend over backwards, signaling your support for transgenderism through funding transitions, funding pride, messaging pride, supporting transitioning kids, and much more. Knowing that, you might not be surprised to find out that Cracker Barrel Corporate once had pamphlets passed out on how to support, quote, LGBTQ+ youth, and pamphlets on Coming Out Day. These pamphlets include helpful sections on creating, quote, safe zones for LGBT people and how they, quote, will not tolerate heterosexist or cisgenderism comments and actions. If you happen to make one of these comments, which I assume are as little as believing boys can't be girls and girls can't be boys, then the pamphlet informs you that you will be educated. But I think they meant re-educated, right? I think that is what they meant. These pamphlets were part of the push to build LGBTQ+ allyship at the company. It probably won't surprise you either at this point to find out that a vice president at Cracker Barrel attended the 2024 DEI Industry Roundtable, where she encouraged all employees to champion DEI, and not just those with DEI in their title or diversity in their title. The company had set up a diverse supplier program as well, focused on bringing DEI into how they select suppliers. They also partnered with Middle Tennessee Diversity Forum, and they worked with something called Conexión Américas. To put this in perspective, here's an opinion piece written by the executive director of Conexión Américas, Renata Soto, where she says they partnered with lawyers to help illegal immigrants, and she goes on to message how deportations have created such dark times and virtue signal all the other ways they help illegal immigrants. Now, if you go on the Cracker Barrel website, you can find a page that also signals support for the LGBTQ+ Stonewall riots. You've probably heard of these riots before, but what you might not know about the Stonewall Inn, where all of this took place, is it was also the site of illegal drug dealing, reported teenage prostitution, also known as rape, and it was owned by the mafia. These facts are conveniently always left out when people talk about Stonewall, because then you might start thinking that raiding such a place was maybe a good idea. The truth is, legacy media has worked very hard to whitewash what really went on at Stonewall, because it was dark. On their website, you can also find a page telling you that they work very hard to build and nurture diverse partnerships and diverse representation in advertising, along with educating and advocating for a, quote, inclusive work environment. So where's this virtue signaling coming from? I have a few ideas, but first to my mind is the fact that they have a board member by the name of Gilbert Davila. He was brought onto the board in 2020 at the height of DEI's rise. So what qualified him for this board seat? Well, you see, he's owned a DEI consulting and strategy firm for 15 years that focuses on pushing DEI and DEI advertising. People like him are behind the woke advertising push that we've seen in recent years. And he was also one of the people responsible for DEI at Disney, where he served as a vice president to oversee, quote, global diversity. Now, I have to ask again, does this feel like a man, a board, or a company that actually understands their customers, who, by the way, hold the future of this company in their hands? Obviously not. But that's the point. Companies stopped listening to and stopped caring about their customers and what they wanted. Activists got bold and then bolder. They decided they would shove their values down your throat and you would like it or you would choke on them. But they made a critical mistake. You see, a movement born out of hatred for America could never understand the resilience Americans have. It could never understand the contempt we'd build for a political class that tried to steal our country and our culture from us. They could never understand that people would rise to restore what had been stolen from us. It's very, very important to understand that the Cracker Barrel story is not about a logo. It's not at all about a logo. It is about a country, it is about our heritage, and it is about our culture. It's about a power structure built to tell us that we are somehow backwards, embarrassing, or bigoted. That whiteness or American pride is something to be ashamed of or hidden at all costs. It's about an elite class who sneered and snickered at us as they profited off of us. It's about the way the left took everything we grew up loving and attempted to destroy it. They thought we were stupid. They thought we would pay for our own destruction forever, but we aren't stupid and we won't pay for it anymore. You see, some of us saw what was happening and we planned. We saw the push to replace Americans with illegals. We saw the push to replace national pride with sexual pride. We saw the push to replace our heritage with cultural Marxism. We saw the push to replace God with anything hedonistic. We saw the infiltration of leftism into our schools. We saw everything. And so our people moved into positions of power little by little. And now that wave of sanity that America's feeling again, it feels like it's so sudden. It's not. It has begun, but it has not gotten anywhere near completion, and we will not stop. We will be relentless because we have to be, frankly. And because that is what our country, our kids, and our culture deserve. What our enemies have yet to understand is that our people are embedded in your boardrooms, in your classrooms, in your C-suite, in your cubicles, and in your meetings. You have no safe space anymore. We are everywhere. We are on Wall Street, we are on Main Street, and we are on your street. We want our country back, and so we're taking it back. And the future will not save you. Because you see, smart companies, they are planning for the future. They see what my viewers already know to be true. While the left demonized family and aborted their kids, people like me had 4 kids. We raised them right. We were not afraid to talk about politics and religion like our parents' generation was. Our kids, they're now on track to be the most conservative generation in 100 years. We won't be going back. The progress we make, our kids will build on. And you can count on that. Over the last year, our movement has killed woke policies at some of the biggest companies on earth. And companies that fight us, that test us, they meet their economic demise. When we targeted Tractor Supply, they lost $2 billion in market cap. When we targeted John Deere, they lost 10. When we targeted Harley-Davidson, they fought back for the longest out of any company until finally caving to us, and it has utterly destroyed them that they fought us. I can go on and on down a list. Now, which path will Cracker Barrel take? I don't know, and honestly, I don't particularly care because we've won. They just don't know it yet. You see, their options now are to apologize, fix this, have heads roll, and get back to sanity, in which case we win, or economic Armageddon. They'll stretch this out and have multiple horrific earnings reports as they realize people stop going to shop there and to eat there. Either way, we win. It's just a matter of choosing the easier fix-it path now or the more painful path later. The choice is theirs. So it's their time for choosing now, but we are not going to give our money to people who hate us, hate our values, and hate our country. A conservative can't give their money to Cracker Barrel. A Christian cannot give their money to Cracker Barrel. And so we won't. It's critical that we spread the word about this so our friends and family know what's going on. And I don't care about monetizing this video. Take it, use it, clip it, post it anywhere you want. You can monetize it yourself for all I care. Take the evidence that I've put out, though, and make your own content. I don't care how you do it, but make sure you expose this company for who they really are. And to the good people employed at Cracker Barrel, I'm sorry this is happening, but I know many of you stand with us, and we stand with you. You want your company and country back, and so do we. So together, we go forward. Until next time, fight the good fight and never back down. This is the Robbie Starbucks Show.